Hello. Welcome to our very first Let's Plot. Today, we're going to be talking about Maleficent. Now, Maleficent was actually the villain that got me interested into competitive villainous, so I have a good amount to say about her. Starting off with her objective, all you need is one curse at each location. These curses are Dreamless Sleep, that makes heroes have -2 strength and are discarded when an ally is played there. Force of Thorns, which is the cheapest curse at 2 cost, and makes only 4 strength heroes able to be played there, but is discarded when a hero is played there. And Green Fire, which makes it so no heroes can be played to that location, but is discarded when Maleficent moves there. Of these curses, they all have different uses. Dreamless Sleep is the hardest one to get rid of, only able to get rid of with Once Upon a Dream and Fauna. So it's pretty nice to have those two. Next up, the Force of Thorns can be discarded with these 4 heroes over here: Aurora, King Stefan, Meriwether, Prince Philip, as well as the Once Upon a Dreams. And Force of Thorns are very good for hero stacking. For example, if, let's say, King Stefan was played here, if you play a Force of Thorns here, yes, that does mean a Once Upon a Dream is able to be played, but it also means that uh, if a 4 strength hero is played, then your opponents are very likely going to place it here to discard this curse. But now you have the rest of your realm for free. And then if you put another one there, then you can really start hero stacking very well. And that is what Maleficent excels in with her board control, because with her board control, she can really do a lot of actions, especially once she gets the Raven out, which makes her do an extra action each turn. Usually, I'd recommend just gaining power with the Raven, but using it for a play a card is also very good if you have 2 curses to play, or maybe you have a dragon form you want to play. I will say, though, if you are trying to use the Raven to play a card, I would always recommend King Stefan's Castle. This is because if you need the Vanquish, you're usually going there yourself to Vanquish. And it also frees up the Raven for the next turn to either gain 3 power, discard, or maybe move if those are uncovered. Of these curses, you can stack them. So you can have a Dreamless Sleep and a Forest of Thorns. And so if Fauna comes out looking to discard the Dreamless Sleep, she sees that Forest of Thorns is there and can no longer be played there. You can also stack the Forest of Thorns and the Green Fire. So if Stefan wants to come discard the Forest of Thorns, he can't due to the Green Fire. And this is where the Raven's ability to move, especially if these are over here, all you gotta do is have the Raven move there, use the move ally or item action to move your curse, one over and one back. And this is extremely helpful. So if the Raven moves here, you can move that over, head over here, and move it right back, which prevents you from being moved there with King Stefan. And if you do it at this location, it's good to get an extra fade in. And it's also extremely good to protect the Raven, because you never ever want to leave the Raven with a Forest of Thorns unprotected. This is because Prince Philip can discard all allies at his location, which really hurts if he hits the Raven. And he would also take out your Forest of Thorns. Regarding some other stuff Maleficent has, Dragon Form is extremely useful. It can take out any of these heroes, so Flora, Guards, and King Hubert, And it can also take out a hero if Dreamless Sleep is with them. And it even works if you have a 3 strength hero with a +2 and a Dreamless Sleep. So it is very handy to get rid of heroes, since Maleficent is a very fast character, and it takes time to set up her allies for vanquishes. But the best part about Dragon Form is definitely the gain 3 power whenever you're fated. What this means is that opponents will think twice before fading you. Now, I would recommend you use this as a mitigation technique. So if you are fairly certain your opponent is going to be fading you next turn, you play Dragon Form to get rid of one of your heroes and gain 3 power. The 3 power that you spent, you get it back. If you try to use it as, hey, maybe you shouldn't fate me this turn, go to another location, they're just going to make progress. And you will have lost this 3 power. It's also extremely good to use so that Swords of Truth don't come back and hurt you. Swords of Truth are an item, and they do make curses more expensive to be played there, but the best part for Maleficent is that they will only go on top of heroes. So, for example, if we had that hero stack I talked about earlier, and 2 Swords of Truth are drawn in the Fate action, you still are not getting other place covered. So that is very handy. So try to keep your realm clear, especially Once Upon a Dream. It's very handy to just have your realm clear, though it might be worth considering not getting rid of these 4 or these 5, so that they cannot use their abilities to discard curses again. Notably, with Merryweather, this is true for the Worst Takes It All Maleficent, not the Intro to Evil Maleficent. Curses can be moved under Merryweather, so you might consider that for a sneaky win. Now, regarding vanquishing heroes, Savage Goon is definitely her best ally. Sorry, Chaos, I know you like the cackling, but uh, it's really not useful. We'll get to him in a little bit. The Savage Goon can take out any 4-strengther, Fauna, Flora, and King Hubert. It is just 3 power, which can be easily gained from the Forest or the Raven, even better. And then you can just go Vanquish and take them out of rotation. Hopefully, they will not show back up in the Fate reshuffle. It also prevents Swords of Truth from being played and Once Upon a Dreams from being used. Sinister Goons are also good to take out Flora and Hubert. Their ability really doesn't matter too much, since if they have a curse under them, which I would not recommend the Force of Thorns, as stated with Prince Philip, but if they do, they have 4 strength, which is the same as the Savage Goon. However, if you are at this position, then usually you'll have more than 1 curse out, and you should really be trying to go for the win at that point. But still decent to try to keep important locations clear. Now, the Cackling Goon is unfortunately the worst of her allies. He is good for taking Swords of Truth, because he gets +1 strength for each hero, plus his 1 strength. So if there's 1 hero there, and the sword, and he is here, he has 2 strength, which counters out this 2 strength, so he needs 4 more strength to defeat the hero. But it's a good cheap alternative so that you don't have to waste one of your big allies. Can also defeat Fauna on his own. However, Fauna can be defeated for free with the Dreamless Sleep. Regarding Vanish, Vanish is really just a play when you can. It's not worth holding on to. But if you have the free play, we'll play it. It also is good for trying to keep yourself under green fires or uh, to do more fate actions. But you should really only be doing that if you have the Raven out and is able to do other actions. For her condition, she has two: Tyranny and Malice. Tyranny is pretty useless. I don't know how else to say that, but if it triggers, great. But it is never worth holding on to. It's just a game, draw three cards, discard three cards. So you'll start your next turn with three cards in hand, and if you draw like three curses, and you had a curse or two in hand, then you've got to discard curses. Malice. Uh, Malice is very good. It does encourage you to be fading more, but Maleficent is a very fast character, so I would not recommend going to these two fading spots all that much. But if you do get Malice off, it can defeat any 4 strength hero, which is very nice that you can do it for free, especially an annoying Merryweather. She can just be defeated for free, and no skin off your back. No allies needed to defeat her. So you get to save 3 power. Uh, and now she can't hold a sword or have Once Upon a Dream affect her. Moving on to her items, both of her items are really good. I'm not sure I would put one over the other. The staff definitely the most useful underneath the forest, since there are 2 player card actions that the staff can make use of. Uh, but if you aren't really going to the forest, let's say there's a green fire there, might be worth it to playing or moving the staff over wherever you're going more to, and depending on the game. The spinning wheel is another nice hero control, since opponents really don't want to play heroes underneath the spinning wheel. And the spinning wheel even works for dragon form. So, if Flora's here, and you get to go there, you can play dragon form, defeat Flora. Now you get the 2 power from Flora, so it's almost paid for itself. And if your opponent fates you, you get 3 more power. So yeah, really good just depending on where your heroes are, or where you don't want them to be. Moving on to her Fate deck. These, 7, but really 6, because you have 2 copies of Once Upon a Dream. These 7 cards are the only ways that curses can be discarded from your realm. These cards do not matter once Maleficent is at her win con. Of these, Fauna is definitely the tamest. As I said before, you can just defeat her for free with a Dreamless Sleep. Once Upon a Dream is only useful if there are heroes, and if you are keeping your heroes clear with dragon forms, a few vanquishes here and there, uh, it can't affect you. However, these heroes do then matter for uh, defeating curses. Aurora is the most annoying hero when she is played early, because she can just fill up your realm with heroes. But uh, she is uh, not too bad to defeat. Merryweather is priority number 1 to defeat. Just yes, you can move it, but that's only if your move actions are clear, since they can be covered. And you really just want the freedom, because Maleficent wants to use every action to her fullest ability, and forcing you to move is not great, but it is able to work around. King Stefan is probably worth just laying around since he can just discard two curses, the Force of Thorns and the Green Fire. And that's annoying, so try to keep them together and protect the Force of Thorns at least. And then, of these, none of these are really amazing guards. You really want a dragon form, and just so you don't have to use two allies. But if they get a Sword of Truth on, you can just use a Sinister Goon and a Cackling Goon, and that's good enough for both of them. Flora is really nice to defeat because her ability is a very unique ability, and we have not seen it since Flora. But you have to play with your hand revealed to all players. This means you cannot go for sneaky wins because they can see your hand and see what you're planning. So it's very important that you take her out, especially if she gets a sword that it just gets really bad real quick. And Prince Philip. Prince Philip is the reason you want to leave the Raven underneath green fires as much as possible. You do not want the Raven to be discarded, nor any of the others, but especially the Raven. Uh, it is. It's not that it's worth leaving him around. It's that it's just not worth vanquishing, if that makes sense, since he cost 5 strength to defeat. Uh, onto her realm, the Forbidden Mountains. It's a very useful location so that you can move and fade. So if you have curse stacking, you can unstack the curses and go for the win. And you can also fade. Briar Rose's Cottage is probably her second best location. And just because she needs a lot of power for her objective, and discarding it is always important, and as I said before, those moves. The forest is her best location since she can play out a lot of cards, especially with the Raven getting her power. And this one also gives her power. So you can play two curses, you can play a dragon form, uh, all around, just a really good location. And this is probably where you'll be playing your vanishes the most, just because you have the extra card play there and can play the Green Fire and a Vanish, and now you cannot be moved there with King Stefan. And then you can just keep on playing curses, play the Raven, do whatever you need to there. King Stefan's castle is her worst location. However, this is her top fate. And I've noticed a lot of players will try to double stack, especially like with Aurora, since she can just bring out two heroes at once. However, as Maleficent, you really should not be going to this location all that much, since you have the dragon forms to defeat heroes, the Raven to vanquish, uh, and Maleficent really does like fast games. She is a very quick character. So the best advice I think I can give y'all is to try to go as fast as you are comfortable with. Some matchups you will need to be a little slower, but it's really important to keep those stacks of curses up. And then when you're ready, you can just go move them wherever you need to. And this would be, if you start your turn, you would win. Yes, Maleficent can do a lot of crazy things on her turn. Uh, so, for example, if she has the Raven out and enough power, this would be, it's not WinCon yet, but she could get to WinCon on her turn by having the Raven move to play, then move here to play two more. Though she is very fate fragile, a simple Stefan can discard two. So always be aware of that. try to keep your spinning wheel where you don't want heroes. I think the forest, being her best location, would be the best place for it. But if your opponent has enough heroes there, at some times it's just best to say, you know, I see that you have done this. It would cost me a lot of resources, at least 2 goons. And sure, you get the power back, but it costs you a lot of time, play a card actions, vanquishes. That could be better than playing curses, or maybe a dragon form to get rid of Flora or something like that. So, I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm going to try to get better at these. If you have any more suggestions, strategies, please leave them in the comments below. We should be doing one of these a week, so I hope to see y'all then. Have a great day, everyone.